Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what I believe are to be the best epics in the game. Now, to be fair, we are going to be covering one epic per faction. That's going to be 15 epics who I think represent some of the best characters in this game. And, there's a good chance that you have one of these. And if you don't, then this is a good video for when you do get some of these champions that they are worth building and having in your roster. Now, before we get started with the video, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing the game yet, what are you waiting for? What are you watching the video for? No, but I'm seriously, if you want to make a new account or an alt account, download using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get Karato, Fox Hunter, Legendary the Shadowkin for free, and 3 amazing epics who we will be covering in this video because I think they are amazing. Ugo, Tagore, and Deacon Armstrong at account level 15, 30, and 40. We're going to talk about exactly why they're so amazing, but you can also get this Void Legendary Champion to Hanorrak of the Barbarian factions by using the promo code Desert Queen within the first 48 hours of a brand new account. So let's get started with the first epic. All right, so coming in hot in the Banner Lords, we're going to be starting from the top and working our way down the factions. I want to start with my first pick, and that's going to be Stag Knight. Now, I did contemplate Lady Annabelle, and some people who are playing this game might agree, but we're going to stick with Stag Knight as my favorite epic for the Banner Lords faction because of all of the debuffs that he can do. He is a pretty sturdy champion, but he does have decreased speed on his A1, so this is fairly reliable, although you do need to get this up. It's a 2-hit attack. And if you do get the epic books in, it's about 50% chance of applying on either of those hits, which is pretty good. But the A2 specifically is AoE. And again, with books, 100% chance of applying 60% decreased defense and 50% decreased attack, or what I call like attack. It's the maximum amount. So these are very solid debuffs and cover quite a bit in terms of what you need for a general dungeon encounter, or just in general having more debuffs is always good. And I think Stag Knight covers a lot of it. He does also have this interesting passive that if you happen to miss applying your debuffs, that ally gets a 50% increased accuracy buff for 1 turn every time that this happens. So in case your accuracy does not meet the resistance thresholds, or the accuracy thresholds, I guess, to apply your debuffs. So that's Stag Knight coming in with Banner Lords. Now, coming in with the High Elves, I want to talk about my favorite champion of the High Elves. There's a couple of okay ones, but I want to talk about Royal Guard. Now, I don't personally have him built up because I'm doing very well on the nuker side of things, but he is a DPS attacker, and the main reason, actually, to cover some of his other skills, his A3 does a 4-hit attack, but also does apply a decreased speed buff as well, and also turn meter reduction, which is quite nice if there's just one target. This can be a lot of turn meter reduction. His A1 also has decreased defense, 60%, which is nice, but it's this, the A2 takedown, AoE, and damages increases according to enemies' max HP. Now, if I'm not mistaken, in the coding, it is 10% of the enemy's max HP. So over multiple targets, this is a lot. But if you cap out his crit rate and then increase the crit damage, this is a very brutal attack. And this can do a lot of damage against a lot of different different bosses, to be honest. So if you need a solid nuker, then none other than Royal Guard will help you get through some content. Coming in with the Sacred Order, the epic of choice for this one is the one from my promo code, Deacon Armstrong. Now, this guy is an amazing support. He comes with an ally, all battles aura, speed aura of 19%, which already makes him really good and usable just about everywhere. His A3 time compression fills turn meter of all allies by 15% and then decreases their turn meter. So you're going up by 15, they're going down by 15, and he gets an extra turn to go right in to his A2, which is an attack, but is largely an enabler, a move, because it is going to apply decreased defense for 2 turns. So this is basically, and especially really great in Arena, to kind of set up your DPS champs. So whoever your AoE DPS champs have, maybe it's Royal Guard, right? We're talking about High Elves, right? So applying this before the big attack goes off is really solid. He also has some great stuff for bosses as well because he applies Leech on his A1. Leech is an amazing debuff that allows you to heal up your characters based on how much damage that you do to them. So it's kind of healing without actually needing healing. Deacon Armstrong, an amazing support character. If you, Dell, you're right, if you get through the QR code, or if you just happen to have him normally anyways, Deacon is a great character here. Coming in with the Barbarians faction gives us one of the best epics in the game, honestly. I've had a sole video just talking about this one character, Farrakhan the Fat. He might sound like his kit is nothing special, but honestly, he'll make a significant difference in a lot of your dungeons and your clan boss battles. So his passive deflects 20% of all incoming damage that this champion receives and kind of spreads it out between the other characters. So it's kind of weird. You would think that he'd actually be absorbing it, but no, he's actually spreading it out to your other characters. But it's this A3 beatdown that's so important on a cooldown of 4 with books. Crit rate up, crit damage up on all of your other allies, and it calls all of them to attack one enemy. This is really powerful in dungeons like Fire Knight, but honestly also really great in Demon Lord and other, pretty much anywhere where you think that you could use him, because it's just a really powerful, lot of damage all at once. He does also have some HP burn if you need it for things like Spider or Frost Spider from Doom Tower is what I was thinking about, and other those kind of encounters in Curse City and things like that, some poisons. And also he applies a 60% decreased defense on his A1. So again, some solid debuffs as well, but it is this beatdown skill that's going to be really, really important to call in all of your allies. This is not that common to have on epic characters, and so that what makes Farrakhan one of the best to do this with. All right, next we got the Ogryn Tribes faction, and of course this is going to be one of the characters from my promo links as well. Ugo, who I've been using for some time. I honestly started the game with Ugo, and I am still using her today. Why? Because she got some of the best debuffs in the game on one character. So A1, we have Leech. We've already talked about Leech when it comes to Deacon Armstrong, so it's really nice as well. Also, this chance goes up if there are more enemies on the field. A2, really, really good on a cooldown of 3. Decreased defense for 60%, some of the most important debuffs in the game, and also block buffs as well. The block buffs debuff also increases by 5% for each enemy alive, so this would go up to 100% if you're fighting something like Hydra, for example, that has multiple targets. Very great character for that. But honestly, if you need decreased defense, if you need block buffs, this is the best character to run. Also, a little bit of healing as well. Removes heal reduction debuffs for all enemies, and then also removes an additional random debuff as well from all allies with some healing there. If for some reason, this happens sometimes, if Ugo is the only person still alive, then she can actually revive everyone else on the field. This happens sometimes in like Arena, where if Ugo's the only one left, then Ugo can then use this to revive everyone else, and it's a bit of a clincher moment here, but it doesn't happen that frequently. But when it does, it's usually a pretty big game changer. So that's Ugo of Ogryn Tribes. Next, we have Lizardmen, and I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Lizardmen faction, and this was a little bit tough. Someone's gonna comment down below possibly about who I think is the best character of this faction. I don't think there's very many good ones, but I am gonna be talking about Venomage. If you know me, I love support characters, I love debuffs. So Venomage has quite a few, but namely this passive is pretty nice too. Enemies under heal reduction debuffs inflict 15% less damage overall, which is related to the A3. This applies heal reduction for 3 turns and also places 2 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns AoE as well. The A2 is single target, but also does decrease defense and decrease attack as well if they're under a poison. So you typically want to open with the A3 and then move into the A2 on the target. And then again, some additional destruction of max HP, and can actually activate the poison debuffs as well on the target with the A1. So not too bad damage wise. You can actually build Venomage slightly attack based, right? For damage, all the skills actually do damage, so it's not too bad here. But some great defense, great debuffs that you can use for your PvE. And coming in with the Skinwalkers faction. Okay, so there was a couple that I was considering, but for the purposes of the video, and I am trying not to use Void Champions that frequently because I know that these are a lot harder to get, but I do want to call out this amazing champion, Akamtoom. So if you have Akamtoom, you are set. Like, really great character here. I want to start with the A2 because this is AoE a 3-hit attack to apply Hex debuffs, and Hex is seriously underrated. Because this basically, when there's multiple targets on the field that you're going to spread a percentage of damage basically to all the other characters that have Hex. It's a really nice skill there. But also this A1. So with the A1, Akantune can actually spread debuffs with characters that have a Hex on them. So if you do have the books in there, it's about a 50% chance per hit of applying a debuff spread as long as the enemies have Hex. So you can spread all sorts of debuffs by using the A1. Also applies additional poisons, and this has an 80% chance of inflicting damage from one poison debuff to enemies under a Hex debuff whenever their allies receive damage from poison. So a little bit niche here, but just a really powerful, I mean, it doesn't even have a fourth skill. Also, Akantune does have an ally speed aura, which is quite nice in all battles. So I do like Akantune and really helped me in the Skinwalkers faction crypts and other places too. All right, coming in with our 8th epic, we have the Orc faction here, and of course, I am going to use the characters that are mentioned in my promo link, and that's going to be Tagore. Just to start things off with, Tagore's passive decreases damage with people who are under 50% HP by 10% damage. So if your allies are lower HP, he's gonna decrease that, right? His A1 also increases places a 60% increased defense buff, to the ally with the lowest HP, but also speed up is so important. So it's an AoE, it's not a ton of damage, places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, does a bit of healing as well, 35% with books. So this is pretty solid, and then of course has a revive mechanic. Revives are kind of rare. It's an AoE all revive with 30% HP. Also places a shield buff. So really great if you need a shielding character for Doom Tower, like to Scarab King. Now, it is only on a cooldown of 5, even with books, so you're going to have to pair this up with another shield buff character. But still, really solid with some of the buffs here, and a great champion for an epic. Coming in with the Demonspawn, I want to talk about a champion that I don't even have on my team, and that is going to be Allure. I'm surprised I don't have this champion yet. One of the best decreased turn meter champions. That's an epic. 3 times at random on an A1. Now, if this is a single target boss, that's 75% turn meter reduction on a critical hit. Now, you need to make sure that she is crit capped. So making sure that you have like crit chance gloves, for example, to get yourself up to 100% or as close as possible. That is crazy. It is at random, but again, if there's not very many targets on the field, or even just the boss, that's 75% turn meter reduction on the A1. That is bonkers. I think that is the best A1 in the game. As far as the other skills go, there's some decent debuffs on here, but not, it's not the 60% decreased defense. And there's also a sleep debuff, but they have to be hit with this. So this isn't super great for Sand Devils, unfortunately. And then the A3 is a single target nuke, 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit. But you do want to have her crit cap, though, because for the A1, and this ignores 50% of the target's defense. So this actually isn't too shabby. But again, you want to be crit capped for Psychic Whip A1. This is a crazy turn meter reduction skill. So that's Allure of the Demonspawn. Coming in hot with the Undead Hordes, my favorite champion of this faction is going to be Seeker. Someone that I am still using in my Hydra team, someone I'm using in my Tag Arena teams, someone who I was using in my Clan Boss team until recently. So the passive heals this champion by 20% and places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns when hit with a critical hit. This is pretty good for like Clan Boss, because even though it does have a cooldown here, it does happen somewhat frequently. If you don't have anyone better to apply a defense up buff, this is pretty nice here too. His A1 also has Provoke. It attacks twice. With books, this is a 50% chance of placing a Provoke debuff. And again, it's a 2-hit attack, but this is big. His A2 on a cooldown of 3 fills turn meter of all allies by 30%, which is a lot, and also places a 50% attack up buff on all allies for 2 turns. And then he can basically go in from this to the A1 to get the Provoke in. He's a really great champion for Arena as an enabler to maybe have him make sure he's faster than your AoE DPS, right? So that this goes in and your DPS that comes after has that attack up buff, and that they're going ahead with the 30% turn meter, right? Speed is king, turn meter is king, all this in a turn-based game. So Seeker and a really amazing champion for Undead Hordes. All right, just a few more left. We're coming in with Dark Elves. My epic of choice for Dark Elves is going to be none other than Madame Ceres, my second Void champion pick here. My apologies, everybody, but I am not a big fan of some of the Dark Elf epics, and so I do want to mention this amazing character that you can use at all levels of your roster. So Madame Saris has just an amazing kit here. Places a shield passive, places a shield buff on this champion equal to 10% of their max HP at the start of each turn. And then when attacked while under a shield buff, can place fear on the attacker. Fear is a really great control mechanic. A3 removes all buffs from all enemies, places a 50% attack down debuff and a 60% decreased defense debuff for on all enemies for 2 turns. This is great. Great debuffs. A2 here, Trick and Treats. Attacks all enemies, has a 40% chance of stealing a random buff from each target, and then places a block debuff on all allies for 2 turns if you steal anything. Places True Fear on enemies who have their buffs stolen. Really great kit here, and then also can do some fear on the A1. But it's really this, like the combination of debuffs here, and then putting a True Fear and potentially getting block debuffs on your team is really, really nice. So Madame Saris here, great champion that you can use all around. I love support champions. Support champions are some of the best in Raid. All right, coming in with Knights Revenant, we have, oh my, no surprise here, another support champion. So Rector Drath is one of the best healers in the game, I think, for an epic character. It's just a really good debuff here with a decreased attack, 50% on her A1. Really great healing with Perfect Veil, which is pretty rare for epic characters. This is an AoE Perfect Veil. Places a Perfect Veil and buffs all 2 turns on all allies with full HP. So as long as this heals them up to full, then they're going to get Perfect Veil. And then an additional continuous heal buff, on all for 1 turn on all allies with less than 100% HP. So if they are not 100%, they will get extra regen there. And also has a single target revive. It's not AoE like Tagor's is, but still really solid anyways, because it's 60% HP with a fill turn meter of 60%, and then they get Perfect Veil for 3 turns. And if you don't know what Perfect Veil does, it reduces the damage that you take. I believe it's 15%. So it's additional damage mitigation as well. And then whenever an ally under Veil or Perfect Veil gets a turn, it heals them by 10% as well of their max HP. Increases the resistance of allies under Veil or Perfect Veil by 50. So really solid if you're looking to go for some weird resistance build, which is fine on certain bosses, which is kind of nice there. Also has a 55 resist aura in Doom Tower. There's certain instances where you could build around this, namely Scarab King, right? If you're going to just resist everything, that kind of thing can work here with Rector Drath. Coming in with the Dwarves, my most favorite epic dwarf here, I have to talk about him, is Geomancer. I pulled Geomancer within the first 3 months of my account, and I still think that he made a significant difference in my progression, and I need to talk about this. So really, really powerful. He's got just a damage mitigation here, decreases the damage on all allies received by 15%, and deflects the damage onto each enemy under an HP burn debuff placed by this champion. I can't understate how powerful this is, because his A3 Quicksand Grasp, it's a full turn meter depletion skill, and he gets the amount basically drained from that, and it's the HP burn for 3 turns. So you burn the boss hits you, and the damage dealt by that is reflected back to him. So it's 15%, and it deflects the damage onto each enemy. It's crazy. So you'll see that this helps significantly in many areas of the game. Ice Golem, Iron Twins Fortress, where I would say the enemies where the bosses hit kind of hard, this is going to make a significant difference. He does also have an AoE A1 that does 50% decrease accuracy, and then he can actually clear some buffs as well with his A2. Really, really great champion. I love Geomancer. He made a significant difference in my roster. All right, and we only have 2 left. We have Shadowkin, which I'm going to be talking about Hotatsu. This is like a more defensive supporty champion here, but his kit is really good. We're going to start with his passive, where on a cooldown of 3, he can remove 1 random debuff from this champion at the start of each turn, and it will remove Stun, Sleep, Freeze, Fear, True Fear, Provoke, and Petrification. This is quite helpful if you can manage to get him to be the target of your Demon Lord, if you have him in the leader position, because he can cleanse this every 3 turns, which basically means that you're not really affected by the stun that he punches you for. Now, it also has an all battles defense aura, so if he is in the leader position for Demon Lord, that's not too shabby there to have extra defense. He has an increased defense buff for all allies for 2 turns, and also a continuous heal buff as well. So he's a pretty decent healer with this too. He's got decreased attack, AoE, really good as well. This is a 75, sorry, it's 80% chance here with the books in it, and then also has a chance of placing leech, 60% chance of placing leech for 2 turns on his A1. So I was using this guy for Demon Lord for quite some time. I really do like Kotatsu, and if you need someone that does these buffs, that does defense up, that does leech, and also has the attack down, really great champion to keep in mind here. So that's Kotatsu with Shadowkin. And for the very last, this was tough. I wanted to talk about 2 different characters. We might do a quick double hitter. I love Kryda in the blue, and you know I love support characters, but maybe I've been talking too much about support characters. But I have to admit that support makes some of the biggest difference in Raid Shadow Legends. I just have to say that. So he does have an increased speed buff for 2 turns of 30% and a turn meter fill as well. He also has AoE freeze, and freeze is some of the best control mechanics in Raid Shadow Legends. It's basically like a stun. It's basically like a stun. That's the easiest way to put it. And this is a really powerful 65% chance, hits twice, so has a pretty good chance of basically freezing an entire wave. For an epic champion, that's really good, and for the A1, he does it as well. This is an insane character that you need for Fire Knight Hard, but even for other content, it's really good. I'm going to do a double hitter just because I love Silven Watchers so much that we're going to talk about Daithi, who is an attack champion as well, who I really wanted to build, but I haven't had the time quite yet. And he's a pretty simple character, but he can buff himself at the start of a round, increase attack, increase accuracy. He gets this for 3 turns, and then he gets a free turn right after that to go into his A2, attacks all enemies, 75% chance up to 100 with books of placing decreased defense, 60% for 2 turns, and then grants an extra turn if the defense debuff is placed on all enemies by this skill, which is very likely. So he goes back into the A1 and does some more stuff, has a 10% chance of granting this champion extra turn. This guy is a DPS beast. If you happen to have any red stars on him at all, he's a character that I definitely recommend. Even then, if you need a nuker, Daithi is definitely a very solid one there for an epic. So that rounds things off with the top 15, maybe 16, because I talked about 16 characters that I think that you should build if you have these characters. These are some of the best epics in Raid Shadow Legends, in my opinion. Now, before we go, I do want to remind you that you can download using the QR code in the top right to make a new account, make an alt account, play more Raid Shadow Legends, and then you can also get 3 free epics. We've already talked about them in this video, right? Ugo, Tagore, and Deacon Armstrong at account level 15, 30, and 40. And don't forget the extra promo code to get yourself a Void Legendary Tahanarak, super rare here, by using the promo code Desert Queen within the first 48 hours of a brand new account. That's 2 legendaries and 3 epics to start your journey off. That's it for now, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all on the next one. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.